We're live. We have not started yet. Welcome, everybody. We'll be with you momentarily. All right. I will call this meeting of the Swartz Creek Board of Education to order. I'm going to ask Sue Gold if she will do a roll call, please.
Jack Sayer.
Here.
Carrie Germain.
Here.
Jessica Linnaeus.
Here.
Chuck Melke.
Tardy.
Andrea Fick. Here. Tim Winter. Here. Holly Jarvis. Here. All here.
Thank you, and thanks, Chuck. You are excused. All right, I will now ask everyone to join us, and I think maybe if we could invite our students in. I'd like to ask the students to join us and lead us in the pledge. You guys know how to do this, right? We are joined this evening by these wonderful Deke music students, and I'm going to ask them to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much for that. I think we should give them a round of applause. Okay, so that leads us right into our special presentation tonight. And I'm going to tell you, the students, this is my favorite part of being on a school board, is when we get to hear from you students. So, who is going to introduce them? There we go.
Hello, my name is Tara Dunlap-Kimbrew. I am the music teacher at Deke and Styrane. This morning, these students knocked it out of the park performing at our annual Veterans Breakfast that Mrs. Trieger puts together for us. It was a wonderful program, and these kids all volunteered. When I said, who wants to sing at the board meeting, I had a whole influx of students that wanted to come today, and they're all so excited
Thank you. Students, that was absolutely wonderful, and thank you.
The rest of the meeting's going to be boring now.
Now your room might be empty.
Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone, for bringing your children here tonight. We appreciate it. Mrs. Trigger, thank you so much for all you do.
That's pretty impressive. I gotta catch up to you.
Got some, need a silencer on.
What's your secret? Oh, okay.
That was really special. Wasn't that sweet? Yes, they did.
Not in their league.
Right?
So I'm going to ask my fellow board members to indulge me, and I'd like to add an agenda item right after this so that we can allow students and their families to leave. But I think we have a presentation or acknowledgement of our Flint Metro Scholar athletes, and I'd like to add that right after this presentation on number 4. Is that okay with everybody?
So moved.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Support. Any opposition? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Rod, and then you can introduce our guests.
Yes, we'll have Mrs. Trubetowski tell us a little bit. Now, she has to stay because her presentation is like 11B, but she is going to do a quick numbers on our Flint Scholar athletes.
Yeah, thank you. We didn't prepare any musical numbers or anything like that. I won't put them on the. But we do have a couple of scholar athletes here. So, ladies, if you would like to join us right up here, I'm going to pull you up. You don't have to go up front, but you can stand by me. We did have 49 Flint Metro League scholar athletes that we recognized last week. I learned from last year I should have brought their T-shirts to tonight, and then they could get them here, right? Because then we get more people to come to the board meeting. But these athletes are varsity level competitors, and they are 3.5 or higher. And thank you guys for spending some time and being here with us in the board tonight.
Thank you. So what sports do you compete in?
We're both swimmers.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's very challenging to balance any kind of extracurricular activities and do well in school, so we celebrate you.
Thank you.
So Adrian, is this like their current GPA based off this quarter? Any fall sport? We had 49?
It was fall sport varsity athletes.
Okay.
So, but it was based off of semester 2 of last year, but since we don't have a quarter until
Okay, so last,
it was last
Spring.
Yep, last spring's grades.
okay,
Yep.
thank you.
And if I recall, it was something like 28% of all athletes hit Flint Metro Scholar.
Yeah, it was even higher when I calculated in the varsity. I think we were at about 49% of our varsity athletes are actually scholar athletes. Yeah. Yeah, because I forgot that detail.
Anyone else?
Yes, because these two are absolutely amazing. Can we hear a little bit, or can I share a little bit? Miriam is new to our district this year, and she came so she could swim with us, right? Yeah. Tell us just a little bit about your experience, because you both bring a lot to the team. I just happen to know a little bit about some of the girls on the swim team, just a few of them. And I am thrilled to have them here. So Miriam, will you just tell us about your experience as a scholar and as an athlete with Creek? Because you're brand new to it.
Yeah, it's been great. The team was really, really welcoming. The girls are amazing. The coaches are great. And I was really, really happy that I transferred because I have really had a great experience in swim and the school, and it's just been really, really fun. And
Are you school of choice into Swartz Creek?
I'm not I actually live in the district, but last year I was at a different school.
Okay, so you came back home. Great.
And Mackenzie Heavner here has had a little bit of a challenging year, and her persistence and determination and what she's brought to the team. One of the parents said in the stand the other day, it'd be really nice to see what this year would have been like. It's not my business to share. Just know that on the team and off, you are very much appreciated. And Mackenzie is somebody who's been in our district all through every grade.
Yep.
And she'll be a senior next year. You want to tell us about your experience?
I can, yeah. So I was diagnosed with May-Thurner syndrome, and basically my iliac artery was compressing on my iliac vein, which caused me to develop blood clots all the way down my left leg. And all my arteries in my left leg were fully occluded, and I was hospitalized for about 2 weeks, and they also found blood clots in my lungs. So I got a surgery to remove the blood clots from the knee above, and I got a stent placed where that compression was. And I still have the blood clots right now, but I am on recovery, and I was lucky enough to be able to get back into swim and still compete well, and yeah.
And still be a scholar athlete. This has all happened since the beginning of the school year, and you are rocking it out. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you so much, and thanks for representing Swartz Creek, and thanks for all you do, Adrian, and we appreciate you bringing the students forward. We're very proud of you. Thank you. So this is your clue that you can leave if you'd like.
Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we have public comment related to our agenda items. If anyone has comments on a specific agenda item, please step forward, state your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Not seeing anyone? All right, moving on to the consent agenda, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Support.
Was that Jack and Chuck?
Yes.
Okay, any comments or questions? Hearing none. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis,
Yes.
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Jessica Lene.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you, motion passes. Next, we have the superintendent report. And you have anything special you'd like to share with us, Rod?
Well, first, just thank you to those fantastic students. We have some amazing opportunities in Swartz Creek, and the Deke students and the scholar athletes are prime examples of what can be accomplished, and just really appreciate those students sharing themselves with us. So thank you, students. First item, our millage renewal passed last night at 67%. We will be able to operate for the next 10 years. That's good news. That means the state will fully fund us, and we don't have to look at a $6 million hole in the budget every year. There is a great support in the community. I just want to say thank you so much to the community. Looking at the local asks for money, and that would include bonds, sinking funds, operating renewals, et cetera, of all those local districts in the county that had a financial ask, we had the highest yes than any other district at 67%. And so that's much appreciated. There was one failure of a local, and then the other passes were in the 50s, up to 62. I think Fenton had a no increase bond for $100 million dollars that they passed at 62%. So congratulations to all of the communities that were able to get support for their districts, and thank you so much to our community for supporting us. Next, I had my org chart with me, and I don't know what I did with it. It's probably still on the printer. So I'm going to instead give you the holiday gathering. And this is the Genesee County School Board's November 30th holiday gathering at Frankenmuth. I know that Jessica has talked about it a lot. It's a very exciting time. Remember that you and your spouse are invited to this event, and we are going to be representing Swartz Creek well because we have the entertainment for the evening as our Swartz Creek Madrigals will be performing. So as always, please see Sue with your RSVPs, and she will make sure that we have the right amount saved for the Swartz Creek people in Frankenmuth. Oh, look, I found them. They were in the wrong pile. Org charts. Chuck was asking again to get an updated version. As you know, we've been going with this style of a chart now for about 2 or 3 years. And just to get a quick review, we added a second chart just so you can kind of see the numbers. So originally, we did the organizational chart by 3 colors, and that was certified staff, support staff, and student numbers. Now, what you're going to see, we were asked to break it out by part-time and full-time, and of course, there's a difference between Swartz Creek staff and third-party staff. So what you see there for green is full-time Swartz Creek staff, blue is part-time Swartz Creek staff, yellow is full-time third-party, and orange is part-time full-party, and then the students are now pink. So now when you look at each building, you can see full-time staff, part-time staff, third-party staff, full-time, part-time, and students. And then if you go up to the chart that I handed out, you will see that correlates as well. Now there are some things that are miscellaneous, and that is just a snapshot in time because we are posting for part-time, full-time people almost on the weekly. If you pay attention to your Swartz Creek email, you will see Carrie Gopel puts out a post 2-3 times a week. So those numbers are so fluid. And then you got special circumstances. For example, if Adrian hires someone to take tickets, or if we have a coach who's not a teacher, but they only coach in the spring, and so really they're an EduStaff employee for like 2 months. And so there's all sorts of variabilities, but I think that this is probably, between the 2 charts, the closest we've ever had to a complete picture. Just know that, you know, those are approximations because they change on the daily.
Hey, Brad, could you take two minutes and explain, just so people know the difference between an employee and an EduStaff employee?
Right, so an employee is a direct hire, and any direct hire in a public school system has to be paid a retirement to the state of Michigan, and our retirement rate right now is 42.35 is just a guess, percent. So that means for every dollar that we pay the employee in a wage, we have to turn around and pay the state of Michigan 42.35 cents. So think about that based on an entire wage. That's a Swartz Creek employee. A third-party employee is an employee who's employed by another party, and they then work for us. There is no retirement, there is no district health care, and again, health care can be anywhere between 10 grand and 22-ish grand per person. So on a third party, we're dealing with the company. We pay the company a contract, and everything is inclusive of that contract. So the employee rates and whatever percent, I think edge staff's around 20? 17. Yeah, I'm so close tonight, 17. So you can see you're saving about 25% or 25 cents on the dollar when you're looking at third-party staff versus district staff. Great question. All right, a couple other things, got a lot going on. We have now had the Success Mindset book study with our central office and our admin team. We've gotten through the introduction and the growth mindset. Later tonight, we'll have our own little discussion on growth mindset, but I just want to put a shout out to central office and to the principals because they have been so interactive and engaging. They've been doing their homework, they've been reading the chapters, and the reflection to sit in a room and just like we did at our last meeting is really deep, and I just appreciate them putting the time into growing and learning. The roundtable, and I'm sure we will hear a report on that, so I'll just give a few details if you don't mind, is scheduled for Monday at 9:30. Just for the record, Jim is going to start out with you that morning, and I should be rolling in about halfway because I am at a legislative breakfast that morning. I don't know if you heard or watched, but Jim and I have resurrected the Swartz Creek podcast. Jim looks like a natural. If you listen to the podcast, you know that he looks like that famous country singer, but we had a good time. I don't know what a good podcast time is. We hit 16 minutes, and I've had people tell us it was too short, and I've had other people tell us it was too long. So I'm thinking we were right in the middle. We are going to call it the Dragon Nation podcast. We're going to try to hit once a month with fun and engaging topics and guests as well. So we're pretty excited about that. The videos are hosted on the Swartz Creek YouTube page for the board. So if you go there, you can click it, or they're out on all the social medias. You can find that there as well. The Swartz Creek Board Holiday Dinner, so that's our own dinner, is going to be happening Thursday, December 7th at 6 o'clock at Italia Gardens. Just like the other holiday dinner, your spouses are welcome, and just like all activities, please RSVP to Sue because she is the one that sets up all of these events. I'm going to hand out the superintendent tool. I just want to thank everyone for the good discussion and for showing up to the board workshop. If you want an electronic copy, that's fine. I think kind of the way we left it was I was going to fill something out and have it to you a week early. You guys were going to fill it out, and I don't know if you're going to give it to Carrie or just bring it with you. That's all up to you guys, and I look forward to that evening in December. We have a letter from the governor, and this is on hate all over the country and all over our state on campuses, both K-12, but mostly university. You're seeing a lot of hate because of the conflict that's happening with Israel and Palestine. And so you're seeing a lot of anti-Israel hate, and then you're seeing a lot of anti-Palestine hate. And this is just a letter from the governor saying that here in America, we're not going to tolerate that, and that we're here to support our fellow citizens and their right to speak, but not tolerate the hate that has been associated with it in many, many places all over the country. So since that came out very recently, I thought I would share that with you. I think this is it, the last one. Conferences were this week for the secondary, so we're wrapping those up, which means no school on Friday. It is a teacher work day. Big shout out to Sean Kovach, who has organized a CPI training voluntary on Friday. As you know, we have dealt with behavior for years now, and of course, so much more during the pandemic. So CPI is a training that trains people not only on the proper holds if a child is dysregulated or a danger to themselves or others. CPI also works on escalation and de-escalation. So the proper way to interact with a student who is escalated and you're trying to bring them down, or the proper way to interact so that you, because of your interaction, are not escalating a student. So, you know, an example could be, I am going to stand at my door and I am going to shake, high five, or hug every child that comes in. And hopefully that's a de-escalation technique because they feel like they belong and that they welcome. An escalation, you know, you might not be thinking about it, but say like the high school has a hall sweep and a student's running down the hall and they're about ready to go in and the door gets shut on them before they can get in there. That might escalate a student. So we want to work really hard on training up anyone who's interested. We have a large portion of our parapros trained. We do not have a large portion of the rest of our staff trained. We hope that through this voluntary training, people will take advantage of it, and then we continue to do that because I think every 2 years you have to have a refresher, and there's an initial course, and there's a refresher course, and there's a certification that comes with it. So pretty excited that some people are going to get a chance to just, you know, work with each other on how to deal with students who are a little dysregulated or a lot dysregulated. I think that's everything.
Thank you, Rod. Any questions for Rod? No? Thank you. And I want to thank the community for their support as well on the millage. It's very important to our district, obviously, and I'm really grateful. I think all of us are very grateful that the community recognized that, so thank you. Moving on, we do have our student board representative report. Reese?
I hope everyone is having a great night so far. I'm just going to start off with a couple of announcements from the high school. So we have teacher-parent conferences this week, and students also have this Friday off, so I hope everyone has a relaxing day. With Halloween coming to an end, students really enjoyed seeing the teachers dress up, and even the office becoming decorated with some spooky decorations, which I will not lie, was so terrifying, being chased in the hallways by teachers, and it made Halloween at the high school even more fun. Now that Christmas is coming up, our choir will be caroling at the elementary schools as well as the village, and the band is now working on Christmas music as they prepare for their concert in December. The Madrigals are singing the national anthem at a Veterans Day Memorial on Saturday, so good luck to them. At the middle school, students have been working on student service learning projects to focus on empathy and compassion, which is great for all of our dragons. Students have also collected 2,900 pairs of socks for local shelters, which is absolutely awesome. Lastly, with the new STEM wing being finished in the middle school, students really have been able to use the facilities on a daily basis, with multiple classes being held during the school day, which teachers are very thankful for. Moving on to our elementaries, Moorish and Elms Blueberries had their first service acts, sorting food with their families at the Eastern Michigan Food Bank. For every 1 hour worked, our students supported 355 families. Deke and Siring hosted their family fun night at the middle school, and everyone that attended enjoyed pizza, swimming, and dancing with their families. Gaines Elementary recently hosted their student lock-in at the middle school, and students enjoyed crafts, food, karaoke, and dancing with their families. So just on to some other announcements, I would like to thank Ms. Corbett for interviewing me for the Dragon Connection and allowing me to share what I do here as a student rep and how much I appreciate this experience. And also congratulations to my other board members, Mr. Kitchen and Mr. Heatherton, for their interview in it as well. So for the most awaited announcement, our roundtables have been scheduled for November 13th from 9:30 to 11:30. I've asked other faculty to be there as well, so I'm excited to see students and faculty come together. And that's about it.
Thank you, Reese. Wonderful report, as always. Any questions for Reese? Thank you. We appreciate you very much. Okay, moving on, we do have in our packet some non-certified staff employment. And then let's start with the board subcommittee reports, if everybody's ready. Let's start with the Academic Achievement Committee. We met on the 1st, and we had a pretty full agenda, but we had some guests who are with us as well. And Sandy Cook, Jamie Damon, and Anthony Aegis, who was a student. We did talk about the graduation gowns. Ms. Damon and Anthony Aegis presented to us the process that they used to present the graduation gown survey to the students. They shared the data with us and the comments that they had They also shared that the students, as a class, were interested in unifying the students and bringing some cohesiveness to the class following COVID-19. Before the survey, the group compared gown selection among the different Flint Metro schools, and the majority of those schools were providing single color gowns to their students for graduation. Students were presented with a variety of style options in the survey, and they also had a choice to add a logo if they so choose, the Swartz Creek logo, and they had a couple different options there. 90% of the senior class participated in the survey, with most of the students choosing a solid red gown with a vertical white stripe on the front over the zipper with the Swartz Creek logo with the dragon. Ms. Damon and Anthony also shared survey comments, and they responded to the committee questions about making sure that the selection was affordable and accessible for students now and going forward in the future if they chose to. Anthony also shared an initial proposal for students to be able to wear non-academic achievement graduation cords that can represent their student accomplishments and different groups that they participate in while in school, and they will bring back more information on that as it's available. In addition to that, we had Sandy Cook, our MTSS facilitator, with our Deputy Superintendent Jim Kitchen, and they presented the fall data to us. And then Sandy Cook talked about the fall STAR and DIBELS, the district assessments in literacy, reading, and math, and that compared several different years, buildings, grade level. And Jim also talked about some grants, the 35A and 23G, is that correct? I wanted to make sure, I wrote it down and then it was, okay, I hope those are the right grant numbers. Yes, grant applications, and we should know more about the results of the application in December. And the 23G grant, the good news is if we receive that, that's a $216,000 over 2 years. And I'm counting on someone to shout out loudly if I'm portraying this incorrectly. Similar grants have been used in the past for the targeted intensive tutoring program that we have seen good success with the younger students. There was a conversation about older students, those 3 to 12 years old, and how there'll be challenges related to some of their learning loss during the pandemic, but there's also great opportunities going forward to look at ways to improve critical thinking amongst those students. And there was no public comment, and I was the committee that was at the meeting, so I didn't have any additional comments. Are there any questions?
I have a question. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sure. Were they also given, in the caps and gowns, were they also given the option to vote to leave it, or they had to make a change?
My understanding was they were given 3 options, and in the comments, they could write in if they wanted to be changed, or keep traditional.
Okay.
So they were presented 3 photos from my understanding of it, and then they could write additional comments.
Okay.
And they did share the comments with us at
Okay.
the committee meeting.
Did you have any were there comments made that kids wanted to keep it traditional, like red and white? Was that?
I'm in the graduation committee, so I've seen a lot of the
Okay.
feedback.
Thank you.
And I thought I would just
I'm looking at your comments right now.
I thought I would just chip in. But yeah, there definitely was probably a lot of parental feedback saying that they want to keep it a tradition. It's how I've always done it. And some students said that as well. But there was also a lot of positive feedback about changing it. So it was a mix of both, I'd say.
So did the survey go out to parents as well, or just to students?
I think it went out to everybody, yeah.
Parents and students?
Yeah, parents and students.
Anyone else? Did I answer your question? Yes and no?
Right. I've never seen cords for something else. I just was curious what it could be.
So for example, if they were part of, help me, Jim, some of the groups in the high school.
thespians, if you give blood, you can get a
GCI.
cord for that, GCI.
Student council.
Yep, student council.
So since they get courts for that, how come they have never, and this is just me being naive, I guess, how come they have never been able to, since they're offered in a cord format, how come they've never been able to wear them before?
In the past, they were strictly the academic cords, and slowly they were opening up as requests came in. And now there's just a move to allow more, as it's more
Okay.
representative of the whole child.
All right.
And doesn't GCI provide a medal that they could use?
There are medals also, yes. Yeah.
I have to say, I appreciated the thoughtfulness that they went through, and Anthony Aegis, who was there, who presented the information as well, and how they had laid out the process, and it was a very democratic process in that they had included the data and the information to share with us. And so I was very grateful for that, because, you know, it's not something that we as a board usually have any conversations about,
Yeah.
you know, what the seniors choose or how
And
they.
I just wondered if they had the option, or if we had to make a change because something was changing on our end of not being able to do that same thing anymore. So I just was curious.
And I also appreciated he took the opportunity while he was there, it was a very smart move, to say, hey, if we came back and said, couldn't we bring a list of some of the areas where we would like to have the students acknowledged if they participated in certain things, which actually, I think it's personally a great idea, because it's hard to say who did what in school, and not everybody does sports or band or anything else. They're sometimes in different groups, and it's just nice to show how well-rounded
How proud
the
they are,
students
not just
are.
academically, but for the other achievements as well. Agreed, I just didn't know it existed.
Yeah, and nobody, I'm not aware, at least in my tenure, I'm not aware that that's ever been brought forward as an opportunity at the high school. So good for them for thinking of that.
So, no, go ahead, Ron.
Okay.
You're first.
Back to the student, he was very well researched. I think he went out to a lot of different districts, and he said that he found anywhere from 5 to 12 chords. Right now, we have silver and gold, and then we have NHS stoles. So it was interesting, and he wasn't saying we need 12. He was just saying, could we have more than 2? And I thought that was very reasonable and well presented. On the survey, it looks like there were 43 students who chose to comment and 3 that said keep it at red and white. And then on the 23G, when I was at MASA in Traverse City this fall, I had an opportunity to talk one-on-one with one of the members of the governor's budget council. And the whole purpose of 23G is that 2 things are happening from COVID. 1, we still have a lot of learning loss, and 2, the ESSER money is gone. So what are we doing? A lot of districts, especially us, as you've heard, all of the amounts that we spend on tutoring and summer school and classroom libraries, that money's gone. And so the whole purpose of 23G is to try to extend out for a couple more years that opportunity to impact learning loss. So specifically, as Kevin and Jamie have worked on the grant, we're trying to create opportunities because we had great success, we had great turnout. As you know, if you have a certified teacher in front of a small group of kids, I think we limited to 5 and suggested 4 that you can make an impact. So we're hoping that with that grant to do those very things that it's set out from by the governor in the first place, which is to recoup learning losses. So look for us. I know that it has come up for quite a while since we started the big robust summer school is what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And well, we got through 1 more year than we thought we were going to get through. Now it looks like we're going to be able to get through another 2 more years with a decent sized program. So pretty excited that when this is all said and done, we probably will have made it 5 years when we originally were hoping just to have that 1 big summer school. So that I think that's great news.
I agree, and absolutely. Would those be the types of things that you would eventually be able to talk about in your podcast to explain to families the importance of having everyone work together on these grants? And making sure that the dollars are spent in a very meaningful way.
Absolutely. I think Jamie and Kevin would make fascinating guests.
Sorry, Jamie. Okay, if there are no more questions, let's move on. Jack, do you want to do policy?
Sure, that would be fine.
Thank you.
Policy Committee met Wednesday, November 1st. That'll need to be corrected. Present was myself, Carrie Germain, Kim Winter, Chuck Melkey, Jim Kitchen, Rod Heatherton, Kevin Claren, Michelle Dexter, and Chantel Manning. The meeting was called to order at 4:57 p.m. Our first agenda item was vaping, and this was a presentation given by Chantel Manning. She's a vice principal at the high school, and she gave a presentation about vaping, not just in the high school, but actually throughout the district. And she gave us an overview of the current issue that our staff are facing in regards to finding vapes and the use of them in general. A lot of them are being disguised as different objects and are being hidden in more clever ways that our staff is now finding. She also presented some of the current responses towards this issue, and she went over some of the punishments as well as the things the district will be doing moving forward. The committee also ended up giving her quite a few responses and ideas and suggestions towards helping that problem, and hopefully we can mitigate the issues moving forward. There's also on our agenda policy 7540.02, which is web accessibility. This was an old Neola policy, so the number won't exactly match up when we have it switched over to Troon. The committee was notified by Rod that the district website was lacking in some key areas with reference to some ADA guidelines. The policy that normally would cover this actually was not included when we switched over from our old policies with Neola to Troon. This is just a simple fix. We will be bringing this policy to the board for a first read. I don't know if we're doing that tonight or if you do have it tonight? No. We'll do it at our next meeting. Okay, so we'll be doing that at our next meeting, hopefully with an updated number, and so that we can put it where it belongs in our policy book. There was no public comment or committee comment, and policy committee adjourned at 6:11 p.m. Our next meeting is Tuesday, November 28th, 2023. Those will both need to be switched, but our next meeting is November 28th.
Thanks, Jack. Any questions for Jack? Thank you, sir. All right, moving on. Who wants to do building and site or finance first? Which one?
You're reading through other stuff. I got one right here. No, I'm just
Okay.
kidding. I'm kidding. One transitions to the other.
Ms. Jessica.
Yes, okay. The Finance Committee meeting met on Monday, October 30th, and we began the meeting at 2:03 p.m. In attendance was myself, Chuck Melkey, Carrie Germain, Rod Heatherton, Travis Smith, Jamie Cowan, R.C. Hunt. We had Alan Gamble from Lewis and Knopf, and Mr. Pobosic was our public guest. The cash and investment summary was not available, as it would not be available anyways for the month of October until October 31st, and it was not available yet today, so it was not reviewed at the time of the meeting, so I will not review the summary report. It was listed in last month's report from 9/30/23. That also meant that the cash register was not able to be reviewed at the time of the meeting. We did have an audit review. Alan Gamble came from Lewis and Knopf, as I said, to give the preliminary presentation of the audit report. Okay, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag here for a minute. We had a clean, unmodified audit opinion. This is the highest level of assurance possible for a district, but I will let it come from somebody outside of our district in a moment as well. The next agenda item were Chromebooks via ESSER 3. We still had a little bit of money, ESSER 3 money left, and can afford 200 Chromebooks through REMC. 100 of them will go to the high school and 100 of them would go to the middle school. The next agenda item was a new bid threshold set by the state and it's tied to the Consumer Price Index, and that number now is $29,572. The next agenda item was round 4, supply chain grant. This is related to food service produce, and that is a grant of $86,000. Oh, see, I said I was ready, and I can't find my second page. Trying to remember what else was on there. The review of the four items that were on the tonight's board actions. Some of them, one was Edmentum and, the truck and the plow that's for sale. And I don't think that there was anything else. Oh, the summer tax, thanks. No, that was we discussed that, but that wasn't on the agenda. So that came additionally afterwards. And the only comment, there was a public comment from Mr. Pobosic wondering what our funding was per pupil, and we told him this year it was $9,600 and explained that that will change annually. It could go up, could go down, and there were no committee comments. And then we transitioned at 3:01 to building and site, is what I remember. Okay. So even though we don't have the financials, I'm not certain because it is the finance report, whether or not I should ask you to
Motion to
approve my
accept the
report.
finance report as stated by Jessica.
Thank you.
And based on what we currently have in our possession.
I'll
Thank you.
support that.
Okay, so Chuck and Jack, any comments or questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, Paul.
I just don't know what new bid threshold means. Can you tell me a little bit?
Yeah, that
Please.
is the threshold that we have to go out and do a bid for. Anything under that amount, we do not have, we have to get, our policy, we request that we get 3 quotes, but that you can get a quote, otherwise it has to go out to a bid and then be open publicly. Okay, thank you. Did I explain that right? Correct?
Yeah, RFP.
Yeah. Oh, there has to be an RFP,
And
and
it has to be done with school guidance and the official state guidelines. And it's under the $28,000 and some change.
So it went up then, or?
Yeah, it went up. It
Okay.
goes up every year about 2.5%.
Okay.
That the state does. And then we asked additionally at building and committee, we started this underneath Ben, and Rod's been gracious enough to keep it going, that me and Jessica asked that we keep any bids that are around $4,000 to $5,000 or higher. We would still have an attempt to make available 3 bidders in the area that could bid for it, so it wasn't just given to one person, and then it's reviews at the building committee, and they could come to the general board meeting. And I believe we've asked Jamie to keep copies of that for a certain amount of time so we can review them.
Yeah, I think
Keep everything transparent.
I think our board policy is 10,000 above for
Is it
bid,
10,000
or
or
for
5?
quotes, and then anything under is considered a micro.
Okay, so the policy and everything didn't change, just
No.
the amount has been,
From the state, yeah.
yeah, I gotcha. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions before we vote? All right, Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Jessica Lenave,
yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you, motion passes. And finally, Chuck, building and site, please.
Sure, we transitioned to building and site directly after finance. We started the meeting at approximately 3:04 p.m. after a short break, and it was held at the administration building conference office. Present was Jamie Cohen, our financial director, trustee Jessica, Rod, the superintendent, Adrian, our athletic director. From the public was John Poposic, RC, the building supervisors there. At President, you were there, of course, Carrie. And we conducted the meeting, and the first order of business was the van discussion. We had comprehensive discussion on this subject with Adrian for a van for athletic and club transportations for small groups of people. The committee concludes is to pause on this issue and discuss it at a later date when more information is obtained and to see if there's really a need for one. The second issue was the fiscal 24-25 bus purchases. It's presented by RC and by Jamie to buy 4 more buses for the 24-25 fiscal year. The cost of that would be, I put down approximately $525,000 to $550,000. We did not have an exact cost at the time. but that was for 4 new, I don't recall what the name brand of the buses were, Thomas, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. Were they Hoekstra or Thomas's? Okay. All right, I don't think that was officially made at that time, but that's fine. And I don't know what the price is, but it was right in that category, without having the exact dollar amount. And the building committee supported that in operations due to the fact that we have approximately 22 buses, but a lot of them that we bought were used buses several years ago to save money. So in reality, once we're on a program, we should be buying about 2 buses a year because they last 12 years, 22 buses, you can do the math. Lawn care renewal. RC and Jamie both presented proposals for a 3-year contract with the current vendor. And the current vendor raised the price approximately $50 if we sign a 3-year contract with them to lock them in per week, per cut, depending on how many cuts they do. But every time he does a cut, it's $25.50. And the numbers between, I think, 25 and 40 cut, or 35 cuts a year, roughly. His name is Clayton.
What's
Lawn King. Yeah, Lawn King, yes. Lawn King.
Clayton was Steve.
Yeah, I got Clayton, but I couldn't remember the name of it, but it was Lawn Kings, I think is what the name of the company was, when I was typing up my minutes. Bid data will be available because they're gonna present a package later in the meeting. There's a couple questions we can talk about it at that time. Dry cooler winterization of the middle school, that was done, and RC and his crew were trained on it. As you know, last year it was improperly closed, and the pipes burst and cost about $160,000 that were in litigation with the company that installed that unit last year and didn't give the proper instructions on how to close it. Concrete updates, the concrete moved forward and they were about 65% done as of our meeting date. I don't know if they've completed it or not. And that was to do the steps, the pads on the west side of the high school, and the walkway. So, I mean, Rod may be able to comment on that. I didn't see it today when I pulled in, so.
There are parts of both already poured, but then they've had to restage a couple of times because of rain. So there are 3 separate parts already poured at the PAC, but I think it's 2 of the interior steps that need to be poured. And then the base between the main entrance and the student entrance has been poured, but not the pathway yet.
Okay, and the concrete pads for the dumpsters, was that part of the bid?
That was.
Is that done yet?
I don't think that one's been started. They've been toggling between.
No.
Oh, it has been started?
They did? Okay. All right, so that's why my report's a little vague, because when I drove by it, it was about 65% done, but you've heard it. Hopefully it'll be done before snow hits. Public comment after the concrete updates. John Poposik was still there from the finance meeting. His concern at the building committee was about water runoff from school property where the huts are, where we do some storage. It's going on to the St. Mary's Cemetery grave site. He was gonna address that immediately and see where the water was coming and try to eliminate it if that pipe had burst. I haven't talked to him since then, at least about that subject.
Yeah, there was a backup and they went and snaked it. So
Okay.
I think we're all set.
Yeah, we don't need that problem. And then committee comment, Carrie commented about getting ambassadors. She asked John about getting ambassadors from the public to help with maybe some school millages for renewals in the near future. That was a concern of Carrie's, mine, and Jessica's, to be frank. So everybody asked what we could do for that. And Jessica's comments were on the tennis courts and the board tours and about some add-ons about the wood. I don't remember what that was about the wood, though, about the flooring. So that was it. Go ahead.
I asked, number one, the comment on the tennis courts and the board tours was when we did it, it was really sweet to see that the middle school PE students were out playing pickleball on the resurfaced courts. And I asked about the plywood on the back so there could be single player practice. And it's my understanding that because of plywood that we bought for the gym flooring, that'll be able to be repurposed and or additional parts of that pallet will be able to be used, and they will be going up on the courts that's slated for the spring.
Very good.
Yeah.
We adjourned the meeting at 4:01 PM, and our next meeting date will be November 27th. at 2 PM for finance, and then directly thereafter operations, and it'll be held at the administration building. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I have a question. The concrete work, I hate to bring this up again, but does that include the benches? I know, I seen something was happening up there at the front door.
I believe it does.
Jim, I think you had some information on that.
It does include the benches. And
Will
I
they
see
be-
I see the pad is ready for concrete up there also.
Okay, I wondered if that's what they were doing up there
Yes.
earlier. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
for Chuck? Go ahead.
I'm doing good on questions today.
Good job.
Yeah, I
The
don't know if
lawn-
I can answer, but I'll try.
The
Somebody will.
the lawn care renewal, sorry, I'm a little bit confused. So we took bids between the current company and Clayton, because Lawn Kings and Clayton's company are two different ones. So is it still up for bid, or
What occurred was is that when
we
we switched,
decided?
when we switched lawn contracts about 2 months ago,
Uh-huh.
they received several bids then. Lawn Kings, which was my confusion, was the low bidder. And RC and Jamie asked, seeing how he's the low bidder, do we have to rebid it out again? And I agreed with them that because the bid was so recent, that why go out for a rebid? He was already cheaper than everybody else. And I think he only raised it $50. I think his original price was $2,500 when he bidded it 2.5 months ago, and now it's gonna be $2,550. And he's gonna hold the price at $2,550. We may have to renegotiate if gas goes over $4, and I'm going from memory, $4.50 a gallon.
And it wasn't even an increase, the $50 change was the added property.
Okay, thank you, Jamie.
So it wasn't that we were taking bids, like, it's closed. I just was confused.
I wanted to take new bids, but it was not my fault, my forgetfulness that we'd taken bids 2 months ago, and we already had several bidders, so there's no sense in, after 2 months, redoing it again. And he was already cheapest, and RC brought up some good points, as Jamie did, that if we rebid it, everybody just keeps raising prices, so that $2,550 would probably go up to $3,000, his price, and everybody else would be $4,000 or $5,000, so we'd be in more money. But
Okay.
we can talk about, because we're gonna approve the contract. I believe it's on the agenda later.
Oh, okay,
Some
thank
more
you.
Questions?
Just for clarification purposes, in August, when we bid that out the first time, Lawn Kings, which won that bid, was $400, almost $500 cheaper per cut, and $1,500 from the highest one per cut, so much cheaper. Yeah.
So is Clayton the owner? Have I got that confused?
Two different companies.
Yeah, well, it's my fault. I should have.
And thanks for asking that, Holly, because we did chat about that.
I thought
about
Clayton
the
was the owner of
recency
Lawn
of the
Kings.
bid. So,
I know.
thank you. All right, any other questions? Chuck, thank you so much.
Let the record reflect that, Travis. You got everything recorded? Good man.
All right, we didn't have anything else. I don't think I missed any of the committees. Let's see, let's move on to board discussion items, beginning with our Swartz Creek Community Schools audit presentation. Rod or Jamie? Whoever's
Yes.
going to introduce.
We are excited to have Lewis and Knopf with us to go over the board audit with you. You have a pack in front of you, and Travis is going to get it up on the screen as well.
Right. Yeah, so I'm Alan Gamble with Lewis & Knopf CPAs. I've been with the firm for 6 years now. I believe I've done this job for the last 5 years, and manager on the job, lead in charge with Jeff Sabalish, the partner on the job. So worked with Jamie over the last couple months to complete this audit for the 6/30/23 year end. Jessica kind of spoiled the good part that you guys have a clean audit opinion, but we'll get to this presentation here. And start by kind of showing you guys what we do during an audit. Just kind of thought it was a good idea to tell you what we do with our audit approach. And fieldwork dates, we came out on June 21st, which is actually 9 days before your year end. Jamie was ready for us early to come out and just get some pre-work done, some pre-planning done to start the audit as much as we can without the final balances. And then we came back out for 2 days in September 5th and September 6th. Wrapped up the audit pretty much, and then I'll get into later, we ended up having to come back out for 1 day due to a change in accounting, school accounting guidance, which made us have an additional single audit. So we had to come back out for 1 day on October 12th. So the audit opinion you'll see in your financial statements is supported by the Lewis & Knopf approach of review and testing of all material balance sheet accounts. So your bank accounts are reconciled, we're making sure that those are properly reconciled, making sure your receivables are properly stated, that your accounts payable are properly stated, your payroll accruals are properly done. And all this kind of assures us that all the numbers are tied together, that your internal controls are in place, and that Jamie's doing what she needs to do, what she does a great job of, and everything is always tying right out and looking spot on there. And so then we also do some revenue and expense analytics, review of your supporting documents, third-party agreements. We perform a property tax analysis based on the taxable values and approved millage rates. And doing this kind of just assures us that you're collecting the appropriate amount of property taxes. There will obviously be variances due to potential delinquent taxes, but and which is the case this year. You guys have a delinquent tax from the city of Flint. Jamie caught, and she's working with the city to collect. And I believe as of a couple of days ago, you were close to collecting that money from the city. It was over $300,000. So you did get it. Oh, perfect. Oh, awesome. So yeah, so Jamie did a great job with that. But so these property tax analysis kind of show us and give us a clear indication of, hey, something's going on here. You're not getting all the money you should be getting type thing. And so we also do perform a state aid reconciliation. We'll get reports straight from the state of Michigan and reconcile that out to what's on your books, ensure that your state aid's properly stated with no weird adjustments in there. And then federal award reconciliation is based on, again, third-party support. So we're really tracing this stuff to the other reports from the state of Michigan, from federal government, and we're doing budget to actual analysis, stuff like that, just to kind of ensure that your balances are materially stated. We don't have any weird variances out there, making sure everything is great. And as I said, you guys have a very clean audit. And what we also do is obtain an understanding of your internal control processes. We don't exactly provide an opinion on internal controls, but we do perform walkthroughs of your internal control procedures to ensure that they're operating effectively. And if we did have any recommendations to make, we would tell the board, hey, you gotta correct this process, or we'd recommend doing this. But we didn't notice any issues. We test your journal entries, review all of your board minutes for the year, all the stuff you guys are talking about, and making sure you have proper approvals in all your transactions. And there's a significant amount of additional testing also done with a single audit that I'll get into that kind of assures us that all your transactions are properly accounted for. And again, there was just no control issues as of 6/30/23. And this is the main page right here that you guys always want to see. Did receive a clean, unmodified audit opinion, which is the highest level of assurance you can get on financial statements. It's not possible to have a better result. And this just confirms that the financial statements are materially stated for the year. And you'll see in your financials that you did adopt new accounting guidance, GASB 96, subscription-based IT arrangements. And you did not have any long-term subscription-based arrangements that we had to capitalize in the current year. So while the standard was implemented, it had no effect on your books. And that's pretty common with most districts. We have seen that we have not had to implement that. And it's a good thing with materiality thresholds and stuff, because it always can get real messy with accounting for grants and stuff, trying to deal with these long-term subscriptions. So. And as I said, a single audit of federal funds is performed. This is in addition to your regular audit, and another opinion is given on compliance with your federal awards. And again, no findings or control issues were reported. Title I, ESSERS, and nutrition cluster were all tested, which represents 81% of your $6.7 million in federal awards. And Title I was the last second testing we had to come back out in October to do. You had a regional assistance grant that is received through the GISD that is title funding, and the GISD was notified in late October that that was now considered federal funding to the district level instead of being a local grant, which it was treated as before. And so this triggered a Title I audit as well. So we had to perform 3 different single audits, and Jamie was ready for them all, and we didn't have any control issues to report. And 50 transactions, just to give you an idea, are tested for each one of these grants. 25 payroll disbursements, 25 non-payroll transactions. So we're really diving deeply into your controls, making sure you have proper approvals and everything's in place. And the nutrition cluster gets even more specific. We're digging down into the student applications to make sure that you guys made the correct eligibility determination and that the proper students are getting the free and reduced lunch. This chart here just kind of shows you your change in fund balance by fund for the year. As you can see there, revenue for the general fund is $48.9 million, the expenditures of $48.1. That's a net change of positive $858,000 for an ending fund balance of $8.5 million. And that's about 17.7% of your expenditures for the year. And that is comparable with prior years. Was that right at 17.7% in the prior years as well? Looking at your capital projects, your 2019 capital projects is your bonded capital projects fund is approved by voters, and your revenue coming in from that is pretty much your interest earnings on your cash remaining in that fund. And you had 6.6 million in expenditures for capital projects for the year, and you have an ending fund balance as of 6/30 of 2.5 million. The other capital projects is your sinking fund, where you had revenue coming in from property taxes of 1.7 million, expenditures of about 1.3, for a positive net change of 400,000 and an ending fund balance in your sinking fund of 1.8 million. And then you have your public improvement fund, which is a capital projects fund, coming through the general fund, and the 750,000 is primarily from a general fund transfer into this fund, and then you had 549,000 in expenditures for an ending fund balance of 1 million. Your debt funds, this is just going to be property tax revenues. Again, your excess over your expenditures are your debt principal and interest payments, and then the excess is mostly going to be your interest earned for the year, is giving you a positive net change in that fund balance. Looking at the food service side of things, you had a net change of positive 71,000 with an ending fund balance of 907,000. Your food service fund balance is still a little too high. This is no longer a finding at the state level. They don't require us to report it, but they do monitor your fund balance, and they might be notifying you to work on a spend down plan to try to lower that fund balance, as they consider, they're not trying to make a profit with the food service fund. And this has been a common issue with all districts in the last couple of years due to the COVID funding coming in. It's just been too difficult to have enough expenditures to maintain the significant revenue coming in. Looking at your general fund revenues for the year, this just shows your total of the 48.9 million, just based on the general fund. 13% of your revenue comes from local sources, which is pretty much property taxes, and then small amounts for your athletic admissions, the other stuff like that. State sources is primarily your state aid revenue, and that's 76% of your total population, while federal awards are 10%, and this will be slightly lower in future years. The ESSER funding is really kind of bringing up your federal awards the last couple of years, and as this ESSER 3 comes off, that federal piece will be a little lower. Looking at the expenditure side, this just kind of shows you allocations between your instruction and support. Instruction's at 56%, 41 for support, and then 3% for community services and the other. This is pretty comparable to you guys for the prior year, and there's always a 10-11 bulletin out there that you can always go look at, and I'll show you comparable districts, and kind of you guys can compare how you compare the other districts of your size. Looking at the general fund expenditures by object code, this just kind of shows your breakdown of your $48 million in expenditures for the year. And as you can see, your salaries and benefits make up 79% of your population here. And so that's pretty much significant. And then your purchase services is coming in at 12%. And kind of as you said before, this is where a lot of it's going to be your edu staff. The stuff is going to come into this 12% bucket for the purchase services. And like as Rob was saying earlier, that's for your difference, where you don't have to pay retirement when it's coming through the edu staff type of thing. So this kind of just gives you a breakdown of where your current expenditures are at. Looking at your budget to actual results for the year, board did a great job with the final budget. Revenue, you had a final budget of 50 million, actual came in at about 49. While this is a 1.13 million under budget, this will be revenues that will be recognized in this 23-24 fiscal year. It'll be for unspent federal award funds and unspent state grant funds that kind of get deferred into future periods. And for your expenditure side, as you can see, you had a final budget of 50.4 million, the actual of 48 million. So your variance was 2.31 million under budget, so that gave you a $858,000 positive variance for the year. Looking at your long-term debt, as of 6/30, you had bonds outstanding of 46 million, notes from direct borrowings and placement, which is your lease obligations of 3,900, sorry. And this is pretty much from copier leases, just obligations outstanding at the end of the year. And then you have your other employee obligations for compensated absences for sick time and vacation pay. Looking at your MIPSers pension and OPEB, this is that significant liability out there in the books every year. It has no effect on your general fund. It's just a government level entry, and the district is reporting its proportionate share of the MIPSers unfunded pension liability at 78 million. In the prior year, it was 48 million. And just to put this into perspective, this is over $2 billion at the statewide level. It's a very significant liability, and you guys are a very small portion of that liability, and your OPEB liability is at 4.45, which is up from 3.12 in the prior year, which results in a net position deficit of $30 million. And these numbers are all based on actuarial assumptions, mortality rates, interest rates, and these are kind of changing annually, and these actuarials are very good at what they do in calculating these numbers, and hopefully at some point, in the future, that could potentially be an asset, but I think it's going to be a long time, 20, 30 years before that could potentially happen, where the state just has a big liability on the books. And they'll continue to just give payments out like 147C2 in the current year, which was a one-time MIPSers deposit that they provide in state aid that's then just dispersed right back to the state of Michigan. And doing these little small state aid categoricals kind of help offset this liability at the state level. And with that, I just want to say thanks to Jamie, Rod, and the rest of the business staff. Do a tremendous job. Jamie was great with the transition over from Chris in the current year, working with them both the last couple of years. They both do an amazing job, but really appreciate what Jamie did. And I think we got out on the field work a day sooner than we normally do. And even when she was ready for us to come back, when we had to run into the Title I incident last second, she said, "Come on out. I got you covered, and we'll figure it out and get it done." And everything works. I just want to say thanks to you guys and do a tremendous job, and open it up for questions at this time.
Any questions for Alan? So Alan, can you talk about how the salaries and benefits are not out of the ordinary for our district or other districts?
Correct. Yeah, I think you're just about 90%, but but between that and benefits, and the only fluctuation will be between if more districts have more edu staff, or some more will have more purchase services. But if you added the purchase services and wages and taxes, it's going to be pretty comparable among all your districts.
And then the pension question sometimes comes up, the money that comes to the districts to offset the cost that then flows back to the state and is booked, correct? I don't even play an accountant on TV.
Yeah, so it's actually coming through your general fund as a revenue and expense, so it has really no effect on your fund balance, but it's a state grant. I forget, what was your amount, Jamie, do you recall?
Just over $2 million.
Just over $2 million this year, so they just gave $2 million comes in through one of your state aid payments, but then it's just
and then they take it.
Taken right back out.
So that's nice.
Yep.
It comes in and it goes out.
Yeah.
Follow up on that question, though. How much does the district actually pay? Because we still contribute some money. Do you know that number?
The total.
Yeah. I know they give us $2 million and it goes back to them, but what is the district responsible for? Do we have a percentage that we could?
I'm going to say maybe $5 million is our total budget for ORS.
For pension?
Yes.
So the $2 million's coming from the state of Michigan, that's a pass-through, and then $3 million still a liability assessed to the district that we're paying to that same fund to try to offset that $70 million.
Just like the
Is the clarification that there is another payment from Swartz Creek for the pension liability? Or is the question, the 42% that we pay off of everyone's salary that then goes into the retirement? Is that what we're clarifying?
No, because the 42% also includes benefits, probably, and some other things.
No, that's straight
that's
retirement.
Just the retirement. That doesn't
So
include.
we pay 42% towards retirement?
42% of people's salaries who are Swartz Creek employees, yeah.
Then you
So
got
if
like.
somebody's at an $80,000 salary, 40%.
If someone's at a $100,000 salary, yeah, we pay $42,000 to the state.
Is that debt, that payment, is that coming from our district still, or is that part of the $2 million that passes through?
No, that is coming.
Out of our expense. I'm saying.
General fund.
Yeah, general fund, $5 million just annually.
No, and she answered it, that's where I wanted to be at.
$2 million was just a pass-through.
Right. So we're actually paying $7 million, but $2 million of it is going through. So we're at, our liability is $7 million a year for our district employees for retirement right now. Because the $2 million, I know it's coming to us, but then we pay it right back out.
I think the max rate was right under 45% for this last year. I don't think everyone uses the max rate. It wasn't the most common plan, but it's like then you also have your 7.65% Medicare and FICA on top of that, plus your health insurance.
And thanks for clarifying. I thought the 42% might be all the benefits included along with retirement. So it's went up considerably in the last 10 years.
And just to clarify, so when you say 100,000, if you're making $100,000, on top of that, we're not taking 40 out of your 100 to pay your retirement. So you cost us $140,000 and then any additional benefits for
Correct.
Just clarification. Thank you.
No other questions?
They wouldn't have a retirement problem if we were taking 42,000 out of the 100,000.
Yeah.
It'd be quickly solved.
Yeah.
And this is gonna blow up on all school districts at some point. Everybody's just kicking the bucket down the road.
Yeah, pretty much.
Can.
So Alan, thank you very much,
Thanks,
as
Alan.
always. And Jamie, thank you to you and your team for being so well prepared all the time. And you do such a great job. And I know that, this was a little bit different this year, having access to information ahead of time. And it sounds like it made it much more efficient and smooth. And we just can't thank you enough for all that you do to make it everything that it is. I've been part of organizations, boards and associations for a long time, and I know how important it is to get this level of an audit, so congratulations. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Only when you were on page 2, I remembered that was actually the committee comments from the finance committee meeting, because the comments were made there about the ease of the audit process and the quality of information and the timeliness of the information that you and your team gave. And so again, thank you, and thank you for doing such a diligent job for our district. I know you haven't even been here a whole year, Jamie, and you are rocking it out, so thank you so much.
I think Alan's been here 3 times, 2 or 3 times.
Yep, I
now.
think it's my third presentation.
But it's
I've
Jamie's.
been behind the scenes before that
Yeah.
too, a little bit.
Yeah, you're always smiling.
I try.
But you also
You always
see a lot
got,
of other
hey, your
districts.
debt's $7 million.
Yeah.
You're a very nice guy.
Thank you. Some
Thank you.
districts I'm not smiling at, but I can yours.
That's right, that's right. It's good
Taxpayers
when-
may not be smiling, but you're always smiling.
It's good when the auditor smiles.
He
Thank
just-
you. Thank you
everything's-
so much.
Everything's kosher with us. is what
Yes,
he's
yeah,
saying.
definitely.
Thank you, Alan.
Yep, have a good one, guys.
All right, now, moving on, let's have our athletic presentation. Adrian.
We are excited to hear Adrian's update. She's been doing this update in the fall for the last couple of years, and welcome, Adrian.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share what we're doing. Thanks, Travis. What we're doing with athletics. I think that our work is so important as far as culture and really just the opportunity that we give our athletes. So as a school board, I was really pushing that renewal last night and that communication too, because I was like, I don't even want to know what would happen to athletics if that didn't pass. So thank you to the community for making sure that we are still fully funded as we are in the work that all of you do. So I wanted to start saying that. Awesome. We've gone over numbers the last 2 years, and it was really just fall that we had focused on previously. And it was kind of my idea to bring you guys also winter and spring data. I know Chuck is going to ask about my numbers not adding up, but as far as the total athletes there, don't try and do the math in your head. Those are taking into consideration our 1 sport, 2 sport, and 3 sport athletes. So it's really exciting to see. This year projected already, we're a little bit higher as far as 3 sport athletes, and we're really kind of trying to encourage that collaboration, that teamwork, that sharing of athletes between programs. You can see on that it's to my right hand side of the slide. Those were just a few of our highlights from last year. I only got to talk about football, golf, and swim last year, but in the wintertime, our cheer team, competitive cheer team, they were Metro champs, and one of the things that I was most proud of is not only were they Metro League champs, they were voted best sportsmanship. So they're doing a fantastic job in our cheer program. It's actually growing. We've had to add a middle school competitive cheer coach this year just because of the momentum of that program. So our girls bowling coach, Coach Vanderker, was actually Coach of the Year as well. Girls soccer was recognized as Team Academic All-State. And then boys and girls lacrosse also were recognized as League Best Sportsmanship. This year already, we've only finished the fall season. Most tryouts are starting this week, next week, and the following week for winter sports. But our girls golf team, we actually had a 2-time first place medalist. So the person in our league took first 2 years back to back in a row. And she was the first time all-league medalist last year. So she's the first 2-time all-league medalist this year. Megan Dykes, yeah, yes. And then they were voted best sportsmanship, and they are academic all-state, and we just found out this week that she was actually all-state honorable mention also. Swim has had a fantastic banner year too. We had Miska qualified, and we sent a few girls over there to swim over at Calvin University in Grand Rapids. And then we broke 3 school records this year, which was very exciting. And we got our record board updated so they could reflect that while were still in school, and they could see that their names were added to that. Last week we got that done. So very, very impressive year with our girls. And they finished 2nd overall in the Flint Metro League, which is one of the best finishes we've had in quite a while. And then already our volleyball coach, Carrie Snyder, was recognized as Coach of the Year as well. Middle school, our numbers are holding strong. Like I talked about, we already added a competitive cheer coach for the middle school level. We're going to have a kind of split 7th, 8th, or A-B squads there. And then we actually had to add a middle school wrestling coach. We've increased those numbers. We're up to about 50 middle school wrestlers right now. We had to have split locations and have kind of alternate practice modifications. But we're excited about what the programs are doing and the involvement even at the middle school level. So no complaints about participation right now. We've continued our work with player-parent meetings. The whole purpose of this was kind of to front-load information. We held them in our PAC. Our winter one was actually just held in our gymnasium. And parents have the opportunity to come, and we listen to kind of different policy changes. This year we had a big update with our athletic consequences. So we want to make sure that we were really upfront with parents and student athletes and what our expectations were. And the other really big thing is that they get to do a breakout meeting with their coaches ahead of time. So players and parents get to go meet with their coach. They hear about what their expectations are for tryouts, how you make a team, what the commitment level of the team is. The winter time, we go through a lot of holidays, so they don't get a lot of time off in holidays. We get time off from school, but as athletes, they're expected to be there and still be committed to their team. So we want to make sure that everybody understands that level of commitment ahead of time. So the player-parent meetings have actually been a really big hit, and I hope it is improving the communication from our coaches and parents and athletes. This is actually one of my slides that I use on that same day before we get players and parents in there. I have my coaches meeting, and I just wanted you guys to see kind of the work that we do with the coaching staff as well. You can see that we have incorporated our core values into every single slide as the coaches are going through, and we talk about all the roles and responsibilities as coaches. We want to make sure that we're constantly remembering and reminding our coaches of our core values. So there's our agenda for the evening. It's a long night for my coaches before the season even starts, but we all refer to it as kind of like the day before Christmas because everybody's so excited. We know that the season's right around the corner, and everybody's kind of gearing up to make sure that we have the most success for all of our students and our parents as well. This year, our work in our department is we've been working on what we refer to as an MVP process. So the MVP is our mission, vision, and principles. And right now, we are crafting our principles with the Swartz Creek Leadership Council. We actually finished our work kind of narrowing down what letters we want to use. So for the F in fearless, for example, we're debating between, is it going to be family or is it going to be fierce, I think was the other one that we chose. So we're going to put together a survey. We're going to send that out to our coaches as well as our student athletes that are part of that leadership council. And then individual teams are actually working on the accountability piece for our behaviors. And this year we went with an above and below the line behavior model. So we are actually taking every single team is talking about as a student, who are they in the community? That's what the person is. Are they the model student that is, holding open doors for people or carrying somebody's groceries that looks like their arms are too full, or are they the one that are doing burnouts in the parking lot? We want to make sure that our students, athletes are representing our community well. We also want to make sure that they're a great student in the classroom. We want to make sure that, they're the kid that's sitting up front, taking notes and attentive and engaging with the teacher, not the one that's sitting in the back with their hood up and sleeping. It was really awesome. We were talking about why we're actually defining these in our SCLC group. And one of my favorite comment was one of the females had said, well, we have to talk about these because not all athletes are good people. And that was a pretty powerful statement. Talking about their peers. So I feel like this gives us a common language, a common sense of accountability, and a common sense of expectations for everyone in the classroom, in the community, and as an athlete. Are you the athlete that's on time for practice and prepared, or are you the athlete that is forgot their shoes and can't actually practice today? So little things like that will help us out. We also are asking our athletes to have that conversation about their coaches. What kind of coach do they want? Do they want the coaches, screaming and yelling and in their face and really super intense all the time? Or do they want somebody that's giving them some positive feedback every now and then? Do they want the coach that has a plan and walks into practice prepared? And then the most powerful one, I think, that from the fall has been the parent piece of this. And we just I'll talk a little bit more about it, but we just went to the Sportsmanship Summit. There was a huge focus on the student athletes, 500 kids around the state of Michigan yesterday talking about parents and parent behavior and parent expectations and really what that looks like. We're already doing that work. We started it this fall. So I'm really proud of the efforts that my coaches are putting in following through with this. This is the leadership group that I'm talking about. Every year we host the Flint Metro League Sportsmanship Summit. We take 12 sophomores, 6 females, 6 males, and we bring all the Metro League schools together. This year we invited Positive Coaches Alliance to come in. It's a national organization that talks to them about, this year our theme was competing with empathy. So how to be a fierce competitor, but also have that respect and show sportsmanship. And really, we're all just learning and growing in these games, so we want to make sure that we're being, ultimately showing respect to our opponents and officials and all that kind of good stuff too. So from that group of student athletes that got to attend that, we actually added them to our larger group. There was only, I think, 16, 17 in that picture. We actually are up to 23 students that are on our leadership council. That's the same group that's doing the work with our principals. So it's a really fun group of kids. I walked in today and we were having our meeting and they were already defining everything, and a group of go-getters. So it's some of my favorite time that I get to spend with our student athletes is with our leadership group. This was our sportsmanship group. This was actually yesterday. We took a student section leaders that were a bunch of seniors down to Lansing, as well as 4 juniors, because we're hoping to pass the torch and the excitement and enthusiasm for our student section. And we got to talk about issues around the state of Michigan. They hold 4 of these kind of hot spots that talk about sportsmanship. And we talked about how sportsmanship impacts our school and community, how it impacts our student section. How do we get kids involved? How do we make sure that we're doing and saying the right things so that nobody has to come over and sit right next to us and monitor everything that's coming out of the student section. How do we show respect for our opponents? How can we cheer positively and create a nice environment for everybody, but still be competitive and still hype up our own team? There's a really fine line there. How to work with officials and parents, and then the really fun kind of part of the whole session was how to work with your athletic director. So I got to sit in on that one and really kind of help voice the athletic director's perspective from students across the state as well. These are our, I was even off on my number too. These are our Metro Scholar athletes. We had 2 of them join us earlier today. 54% of our varsity athletes are Scholar athletes. They averaged 3.86 this year, grade point average. And I want to publicly thank the athletic boosters. They're the ones that support this initiative and make sure that the athletes get t-shirts every single year. We wish that we could give them to all of them, all the levels, all the everything, but right now we're just focusing on Flint Metro League and varsity athletes. So. Any questions about athletics before I move on? Yeah.
I'm confused. So like the group that we were just talking about with the sophomores, and then the bigger group that they go into, what's the difference between the two?
It's really the same group of athletes. So the group that I had with the sophomores, we started that work last year. So with my sophomores last year, and then I had taken a group of 6 females, I think it was, to the Women in Sports Leadership Summit. So with those kids, I combined and we formed our leadership council. That was our initial year. We spent the year just reading a book called Elevating Your Game that was recommended by the PCA as well. And I didn't want that group to not have any sort of mentorship going through the rest of their high school years. So we all had a conversation at the end of the year. We did a little post survey, and every single kid wanted to come back and they wanted to do more work as a leadership group and as an athletic group.
So when they combine, then it's not just sophomores, it has bits of.
Yeah, I think we lost 4 seniors last year, so then we brought in 12, so that's why we're a little bit larger this year. We'll probably lose about 6 seniors this year, and then we'll keep building and adding to it.
Okay, I have one more question.
Yeah.
In comparison to like other schools like our size, for the 54%, I mean, is that, it's a good number to me, it's great, but is it comparable to other people, or are we doing better? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I've never posed that to the Metro League athletic directors.
I just didn't know if it's something that like goes over when they're talking. I just was curious.
Yeah, we could probably do some math on the website, is on the Flint Metro League website, where every school is represented and it shows their Scholar athletes per season. I've never asked the AD's group. Now that I know our number, maybe I should ask, right? Yes. Huge number. Yeah. Yeah, super exciting. I just asked, somebody just asked, and they were like, how many have you heard from? And I've seen several at games and things like that, engaging with them this fall. But, you know, so far I've heard really good things about all of our kids that are at the next level as well.
When is signing day? I know it probably varies for different sports.
We just hold one, and that is usually in May.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we can look forward to that.
Yes. Excellent. This was just an ad. We wanted to touch on community ed and community ed programming. We, as the athletic director, we've opened this back up as community education. We've hit a lot of hurdles for 6 months being kind of new program after it was shut down for 4 to 5 years, you know, and not really kind of fully functioning. So it has been a growing and learning process for us in the athletic department, as well as Laura as our new secretary that is kind of manning the front on this side. So we really did a lot of work. We had to kind of recreate the wheel to get this started, and we cleaned up some of those processes for rentals and fees. We've had to hire and train new staff, especially when we're talking pool and liabilities and all that kind of stuff. And right now, we're actually working with the PAC to kind of help streamline all of those processes as well. But we do have some open swim and lap swim up and running. We got to host our first elementary fun night, and Mrs. Wildy said it was a smash hit. She said she missed them. She said her K1-2 babies had never got to attend one. So, you know, it was like maybe some of the third graders and, you know, maybe some of the fourth or fifth graders, but a lot of the kids had never ever been to one. So it was really exciting that they got to do that again. And then we've also established a partnership with Falcons Swim Group, and back working with Carmen Ainsworth and giving them an opportunity to get back into our pool. And we're using our lifeguards and our supervisor as a role in that through community education as well. So pickleball, you know, is a smash hit. That one is always very well attended and popular. We've also got some basketball rentals. We helped with Survivor Camp, and we did karate. Those are up and running programs. So with their numbers keep growing as well. And then really what we're kind of looking forward to and hoping to plan for the future is get a community theater program up and running. We are looking at doing some camps for the summer. We want to explore youth leagues and sport camps as well, and get some of those things. I was talking to one of the parents in the crowd that was here for the DEET kids, and they were excited that and really want to get some more soccer opportunities going. And I'm like, we're actually going to talk about that later. So it was nice to hear that people are really advocating for that. And then, of course, your traditional kind of community ed, art, cooking, yoga, Zumba, water aerobics. Those are all things that are on the docket that we're trying to get launched before now and in the end of the school year, and or it'll be in our summer kind of doings. So busy in the athletic office and with community ed, but we're really excited for the things that are coming for us. Yeah.
On the community ed front, with pickleball and the courts being resurfaced, is there an opportunity for us to open that up, and people, again, for community ed pay for that, right? And is there, I guess, for the community, would there be an opportunity, or is there a plan to open that up, or would there be a user fee?
Those are just generally open to the public. We haven't talked about locking them down or anything else. It's my understanding that the pickleball community travels with their own pickleball nets. Yeah. So it's not even really anything that we would have to provide, as long as we left our courts open over there. People would be able to plop their own net down, especially, you know, it's not, the weather isn't as nice, especially today, but they would be able to do that. It's a little bit more difficult with the tennis nets up, actually, because they're not the regulation pickleball heights or widths, so it's harder to play around, is what I've been told.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So Adrienne, as always, thank you. I am so impressed by the sportsmanship awards, and I think it's a direct result of how you model your behavior, your expectations for the coaching staff, for the parents, who are not always easy to control, and for the students and what you expect of them. Are you a warm demander? Yes?
I would say I'd fall in that category, yes.
And for the folks that weren't here when Ben was here, maybe you can explain what that is.
So a warm demander, actually when Ben and I went out to Seattle, I think it was his first summer here, we went to the University of Washington for the Center for Educational Leadership, and one of the sessions was on warm demander. And that is basically that you have to hold people up to high expectations, but you also have to give them great amount of support. Because if you're just giving expectations, that's the person that's always in your face, holding you accountable, but not supporting you. And most people burn out because they don't feel welcomed. And if you're full of support and you're very soft and you're very loving, but you don't ever have any accountability, then you tend to get run over by people. And it's very hard for people to be both. That's why we talk about it so much, because most people generally sway to the warm side or they sway to the demanding side, and that's very hard on individuals, especially students, who may not fit that profile at all. So the warm demander is there who's going to raise your expectation, but also support you through that process.
And what a great role model you are for those students that are in your leadership council, to see that and to understand that. And it sounds like they are actually holding their peers accountable, identifying opportunities to mentor them or show them how they can do things differently and maybe better. So I'm very grateful to you. It's outstanding, and it makes me proud that the kids are actually behaving and they're showing other people how to do it.
Yes,
So
I agree.
Thank you for that.
I agree. I'm very proud.
Anyone else?
I was just gonna say, like, I don't know how many people know, but like a lot of these also high school and higher level middle school athletes, they do a lot of work for me in the youth as well. They'll come out after playing games on Friday and instantly start working and reffing, and so they're like building up the youth as well to see, oh, I can be this too. I have kids already asking me, and I'm like, well, you're not quite old enough yet, but let me throw you in here one time and let you see. So I'm like, they're already building a culture of above and beyond, not just their school, not just their sports they play, but additional things in the community as well, which is super, super nice.
Yeah.
I'd like to just, I don't usually jump in on people's presentations, but I just want to give Adrian some kudos. When I was a principal, I just assumed all principals were doing all the best things that they could do, right? Because they're your colleagues, you sit with them for once a month and you think, oh, everybody's working hard. And then you get over to central office and you realize now that you have to see at a such higher level and you look out across, like, that's not the case. And for the last 10 years since I've been over here, I've kind of harped on 5 things. Being on the same team, the whole we are the they concept, of course, our MTSS, using social media to tell our story, incorporating our values so that everyone understands what we stand for, and having that high expectation, accountability. And it's just your 3rd year in the job.
Correct.
Right from the beginning, I said, I want to see those athletes held accountable. If they're showboating, I don't care if they're the star, pull them out. And I want these coaches to understand our values. We have a set of values that I try to talk to the principals about, the teachers about, our kids about. And if we don't have coaches who are talking the same thing that the rest of us are talking about, then how can we ever be on the same page? And how can we ever become excellence if we're not all moving in the same direction? And I need to report to you all that from day one, Adrian has incorporated those values and that accountability and that high expectation, and she uses her social media, and she pulls all those people together. So not always do people listen, but Adrian is an example of someone who does listen and incorporates those important things that I think are important for our district, so kudos.
There's been a significant cultural shift over the last 3 or 4 years, and I can only thank you for it. I mean, you and your team.
Thank you.
And you continue to point people in the right direction to do the right things, so thank you. Anyone else? All right, well, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
all you do. And congratulations to the students for their accolades and the coaches for theirs and the people who support each other in the process.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, that was wonderful. All right, moving on. We are now going to go to our Success Mindset book study.
Yes, so as you heard me in superintendent report, the principals and the central office staff have already done round number 2, which is the growth mindset. So this is our 3rd group now to work on the growth mindset. Just like last month, I only want to take 10 minutes or less. if there's something that stood out to you, whether it's an idea, a quote, something that was an aha, or something you just loved, I think we'll just kind of have another quick open dialogue.
Anyone?
Okay, I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I'm still in the section of the book that hurts my feelings, because this is one that is definitely not on this, I'm on the far other side. But I did like two things, well, I liked several things, but keep it quick. So on page 74, it's talking about that he declared that the company would focus on becoming a learn-it-alls rather than know-it-alls. And that helped promote the growth mindset, which I think is really a positive statement. And then the other one of saying, I saw the way I always take, page 82. I suddenly saw the way I always take a chance and better, even if it seems threatening. So those just really spoke to me, because like I said, this is the portion of my assessment where I am the polar opposite. So I'm just trying, they just spoke to me to try to implement on myself, so. But these next two chapters, I'm on the good side, so hopefully it'll be a better read for the next two.
Thank you, Holly. Anyone else? So I'll jump in. I enjoyed this immensely, and I think it goes back to, looking at how people can be open to challenges and view those as opportunities, and even if you fail along the way, it's not a bad thing. So just thinking through, and I know you'll talk about this eventually, is how do we as a board support you as administrators and teams to make sure that this is how we are supporting the staff, but also helping the students as their minds are continuing to develop to also benefit from this type of information. And is there an opportunity that we should be looking at as a board and an administrative team going forward?
I think about that all the time. I think back to when, before we changed our value to continuous learning, we had the value of a culture of learning. And when we talked about a culture of learning, we often talked about taking risks. And that if adults showed risks in the classroom or allowed students to take risks without any fear of rejection or failure, that's where the learning happens. And then later, as we saw the STEM and the Project Lead the Way grow, and I can always remember the first Project Lead the Way or STEM open house at the middle school, and one of the comments from one of the kids in the group was, "I wish every class was like this." And I tried to dive into that. Why do you wish? Because I get to fail, I get to experiment, I get to move, I get to try things. And I'm learning because of that, because I'm taking risks, because I'm trying new things, because I'm moving, because I'm taking guesses, I'm learning. And we talk all the time on the leadership team, and Jim, you can pipe in here if you want, but we do need to make all classes like that, and that's that problem solving, asking questions, and kind of doing, and I think that's where then you develop the growth mindset.
So thank you for that, Rod. I wrote in my notes in preparation that we need to encourage failure and explore ideas and solutions and really focus on our STEM innovation and critical thinking that goes along with that. So thank you. Anyone else?
I'm glad I had the right answer.
I don't know that it's the right
wait,
answer.
that
it
would
just
not be a
was
growth
consistent.
mindset. I'm going to go with mine just because I have a couple pages. So I'm going to go with page 52 for me. I'm the opposite of Holly. My next two sections, I'm a little nervous because I didn't score so high. Growth mindset. Yeah, we're the opposite. Yeah, growth mindset is my highest by far of all the different aspects. So I love this stuff. It's that last paragraph on page 52. One factor relates to our upbringing. Research has repeatedly found that the praise we receive from our parents and teachers growing up shapes our mindset. Specifically, praising one's ability sends a fixed mindset, like "you're so smart," message that cements the importance of being and seen as having ability, talent, and intelligence. Conversely, praising one's efforts, "you work so hard," sends a growth mindset message that emphasizes learning, growing and developing one's abilities. Also, it appears the degree to which we feel loved and accepted by our parents also shapes our mindset. So I think the important lesson there is that as teachers and educators, we can still shape a growth mindset with people, with our students. And we can talk to our parents about how to do that at home. You know, my parents, when I grew up, I could always remember them telling me all the time, because I'd bring home a report card and I'd have a B on it. And, you know, as someone who likes to be perfect, I can't believe I had a B or something. And they would always say, no matter what, if I had a B or a C or even 2 Bs or whatever it was, we don't care what your grades are. Did you work hardest? You could get all Cs. If you worked your hardest, then we would be super proud. You could get all As, and if you didn't work your hardest, we'd want to know why. And you know, growth mindset didn't exist back then. Obviously, Carol Dweck came up with that idea, but I'm so thankful that, you know, that was something that they always praised effort, because I think that literally is what led to my growth mindset.
Agreed. I think because mine was the opposite. I would go to school the next day, and in my folder I'd have gotten a B or a C on a test, and there'd be a circle, and my mom would have wrote a note. And not that my parents are wonderful, but like it was the opposite. Like that was a failure. You should have gotten an A. Like, not did you try hard, or why did you miss this one? So I do think what you're saying does speak volumes, not only from the parent aspect, from the teacher, because I'm more of a fixed. So I just agree.
We just proved some research together.
We did.
Anyone else?
I forgot my book, but I had some stuff underlined. I was in chapter 2, I was interested in the section that talked about the people that took the test, and some of them that failed, they just like started to denigrate themselves and talk like, well, I'm not very smart anyway, or, you know, I've never been good at that. And so I think it is important that we're trying to teach kids mistakes. The book said, I think mistakes are a good thing. And just because you failed at something, you know, does not mean that you can't still do it. Learn from it, I guess is what I took from that chapter. I just thought that was kind of important too.
And I think that there's so much opportunity to help students in their future life, right? Not just here, but in their maybe post-high school days, and then in their future in their jobs, and how you interact with your leaders, or if you are a leader, and you know, how does this look going forward? I think it's really eye-opening. So, what's next? Did you have one?
Oh,
Go ahead.
I don't have notes in my book because I've been listening in the car, but every time I do turn it on and listen, I wrote down something years ago outside of this, and it's what you think about, you talk about, what you talk about, you bring about. And I have that in my office, and I think about it often, and this book constantly reminds me of that, is when you think about something and you put it in your life, and just whatever it is, good, bad, and different, and, you know, going through times in your life where this is all you focus on, it really trickles down, whether it's a personal thing, it trickles into work and vice versa. It's very important to keep your mind set on all of the things, but focus on the positive and the goals, and not let the distractions of the world take over everything sometimes. And it's hard to do because we all get wrapped up, and maybe something at work comes home and vice versa. But having that, thinking about a positive result, like a lot of times I bring my work home, you know, and I'll not maybe paying enough attention to my son, and then I'm bringing him in that environment, right? Like I'm focused, and all right, I have to read, you know, what am I talking about at home? Is it things that are home related, or are they work related, and he's feeling left out, or vice versa? So it just reminds me a lot of that, is keeping that positive, and whatever you've got going on here really trickles down. The more you talk about it, the more that's what your life is.
And I'll go back to Adrian, too. I mean, you're making a difference in students' lives, and the coaches that are reporting to you, who then affect those students' lives, but probably many others in their life. So just have to give you another commercial. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and thinking about, and I couldn't remember if last month at the board meeting, if we'd done the tours yet, and I talked about it in that there were 2 or 3 spots that we saw at the high school and the middle school. Coincidentally, I can't remember all the offices I saw it in, but there was what our thoughts bring about our words and our words bring about our actions. And because I asked, I'm like, but is this like did you guys order these collectively? Yeah, and it was completely random, and so it's really, I mention it, Carrie, to your comment about how can we do that to be supportive. It is nice to see that independently supported. And to those comments in that page that, Rod, that you were referencing, page 52, and in that section about like what it is that we're told and how we internalize it. I realized a long time ago, we all have tapes that play in our head from a very early age. And sometimes I don't even realize that tape's playing in the back of my head, right? But it comes out in my behaviors. And there is a level of accountability that I need in my life. I was just recently talking to somebody work-related. I said, we all need discipline. It really doesn't matter how old we are. And when I say discipline in that regard, I don't mean punishment. I mean accountability, because we can all go off the rails. And somebody just said, you kind of are working a lot, and I'm like, I get distracted. And what is it, that tape that's playing about is my worth and my value on my work. And to that point, as far as athletes, in that point, I've always said to our kids and to others, I said it to somebody the other day, and I said, your worth and your value is not determined by how well you perform. It's about who you are, it's like, it goes back. I don't have to worry, about my reputation if I'm concerned with my character. And I think about that as well in the terms about being told, my girls, a long time ago, one of my girls were really hurt because I said, she said, you don't ever tell me you're proud of me. And I said, I have real conflicting feelings about the word pride, and it's really hard. But I will tell you that, I'm celebrating the effort that you put in, your determination, whatever it is, and I think that's when we pour into each other. And I will go back to Mrs. Trent. As a kindergarten teacher, in that book, have you filled the bucket today? And if we just fill each other's buckets, then ours get filled up. And that's, like of just being mindful of that. And whether it's a smile, whether or not it's telling the kids when they're in the hallway, we are stoked that you are here, and whatever it is that we can do, because when we pour it out externally, it comes in internally as well. And I'm thankful to be reminded of that here and in this district. So, thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. Anyone else? All right, Rod. So where are we next? Part 3?
So we are up to part 3, which is an open mindset, and that begins on page 99. That's chapter 9, 10, 11, and 12. So 99 to 133, or 133 starts chapter 12. We could do that in December. And I think, Jim, we're already hitting with the principals because of the holiday. So we're hitting open mindset with them on Thursday, right? This Thursday. Oh, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. All right, thank you. Thanks, everyone, for your comments and for your efforts to read the book. So thank you for bringing it to us, Rod and Jim. All right, moving on, we are going to go to our board action items for those folks that are so patiently waiting in the audience, and beginning with our overnight field trips.
Yes, I'd like to have Mr. Love come forward. I don't know if he listened to the podcast or not, but Mr. Kitchen threw out a big push for Mr. Love because he said, hey, you know what, if you want to get involved at any age, if you want to be involved in theater and you want to be involved in all of that drama, make sure, he didn't do it on purpose, but he said, you will love Mr. Love. So Mr. Love is here to talk about the Michigan Thespian Festival, which is an overnight trip, and then we also have the Student Council State Conference from Mrs. Damon. And as you know, the board has to approve a trip if it's overnight. What can you tell us about the Thespian Festival, Mr. Love?
All right, well, this year we're going to take 11 students, so that's double, I think, last year. There's opportunities for the kids to compete for scholarships their senior year. One of our students got 250,000 in offers last year. Quite a lot, and he's actually pursuing that, so that's really exciting. Lots of opportunities for them to learn and grow. There are actually workshops that they can do throughout the 2 days, and then they get to see 2 main stage shows performed by Michigan high schools. And actually, one of the shows they did last year was so good, we decided to do it this year on our own stage. So, yeah. It's a great event. It's in Lansing, takes place at the Lansing Center downtown. We're staying at a courtyard not too far away from that. So, yeah. Or is it courtyard? I don't remember exactly which one it is, but yeah, it's on your notes.
So we know that there will be plenty of chaperones.
Yep,
as
absolutely.
always.
Yes.
And transportation is?
The chaperones are driving. It was just more cost effective than looking into busing, especially for an overnight trip like that. But if you guys were to approve that van that I heard you talking about, maybe. Shameless plug, just kidding.
It only takes 10.
Yeah, oh, okay. Well, then somebody would still have to drive.
Any questions for Jeremy?
I remember Jake went on a trip one year. He just talked about it a lot when he got back.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great.
It's definitely an awesome opportunity. It helps our kids connect with other theater kids, and just, we're kind of like a bunch of awesome oddballs that come together anyway, so they get to find the rest of the awesome oddballs in the world.
And I'm glad you mentioned the student last year that received so many scholarship opportunities.
Yes.
So, any other questions, comments? With that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Support.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Sure can. Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Jessica Lene.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thanks,
Thank you
everybody.
very much. It passes. And Mr. Love, thank you for your extreme patience sitting there.
Okay, so then can I say one thing? Next weekend, come see Puffs, November 17th, 18th, and 19th at the PAC. Your support there would mean the world to my cast and crew. See you there.
What's the name of it?
Puffs. It's a playoff of the Harry Potter series. Yes. It's the 7 years of Harry Potter as told through the Hufflepuff House. So it's awesome.
Are all 3 nights required? Is it a continuation?
It is not. No.
That's what I'd like to know.
Just watch one night and that's it. Yeah.
And it'll be repeated all 3 nights?
Yes. Yes.
Very good.
Yep.
So
7 books in 110-ish minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And the board can access tickets.
By coming to the box office and saying you're a board member, and they will give you a free one.
Oh, I wasn't looking for a free ticket.
Okay, but
I
they will
was
do
not,
that.
personally. I just wanted to know if they needed to order them in advance or if they should just come to the
We now
box
actually have a
office.
ticketing service. We use Ludus, which is very pretty
Easy.
easy,
Mhm.
straightforward. It's got a whole map of the space, and you can even pick out where you want to sit. So.
It does. It's really cool.
Yeah. So we can do it in advance or at the. Yes, and if you're there, you'll just. We try to let people pick, but then the line gets a little bit long. So yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
So I hope you enjoy the conference, and it'll be amazing for the kids, and thanks for all you do.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right?
Thank you.
We won't be offended if you want to leave. Okay. All right.
Maybe we could have some of those kids come tell us a little bit about it in the future, too.
It would be
I think
great.
they absolutely have to come tell us about it afterwards. And next time, make them come just before the board meeting before their play. That would really yeah, make it happen.
Thank you. All right, moving on. This is for the approval of the annual summer tax resolution.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about this one. It is the annual summer tax resolution.
Which you had information in your packet. And with that, I will entertain a motion let me make a clarification here. We did approve the overnight field trip. What we just did is adequate, this is a question, adequate to cover the, both? Okay, great. All right, just wanted to make sure we didn't have to go back. The approval of the annual summer tax resolution, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Andrea? Jessica? Any comments or questions? Hearing none. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Holly Jarvis,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes. Yes.
Jessica Lenave,
Yes.
Jack Sayer.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Resolution and motion passes. Moving on, we have the approval of the Edmentum software renewal.
So we do have software that we've been using at the VLC, and that software is Edmentum. It is basically all of our courseware. As you know, the VLC is virtual, and so all of the courseware is virtual. And this sets it up for a multi-year contract here so that they can have their curriculum.
How many years is it, Rod? I'm sorry? 3.5 years. Will there be any more charges? Are they gonna add anything on, or is this all-inclusive as far as we know?
Subscriptions generally are all-inclusive. We don't, once you sign that contract, they can't bill you for anything else.
It's locked in, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I wanted,
Yeah.
just to make sure. Thank you.
But thanks for asking that. All right. With that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
A motion.
Support.
Holly and Andrea. Okay. Any comments or questions? Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the purchase of the Edmentum products and services with a total projected cost over 42 months of $165,265.26 to be funded by the general fund. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Jessica Lenave,
Yes.
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jack Sayer.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you, and thanks, Travis. The approval of the sale of the truck 8 with the plow.
So this is our truck conversation that we had at our building and site meeting. And we're just getting ready to sell this one because we bought the other 2 trucks.
Any questions for Rod? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion
Quick
to approve.
question.
Oh, go
Do
ahead.
you know, well, it looks like it was already on there? Or not yet? I'm reading real fast here.
So you put it on the government deals website. And
Oh, if it's not met, okay,
if it
sorry.
doesn't meet,
The first time, okay,
Right.
got it.
Motion to approve.
Chuck and Jack? Any comments or questions?
Yes, I have one comment.
Go ahead.
And that is that the Salter was not on the back of the truck all year long, so it did not damage the truck like some people might think. So if they're wondering, the Salter has been removed when not in use.
Good point, Jessica. Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the sale of truck 8 with plow and salter as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Jessica Lenave,
Yes.
Kim Winter.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you, motion passes. Next, we have the approval of our high school and middle school Chromebook purchase that was discussed earlier. Any updates besides what we have before us?
just that 100 are going to the middle school, 100 going to the high school, and we're going to come back in early spring or late winter to continue with this purchase. But this is the first part of our ESSER leftover for Chromebooks.
Okay. I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Support.
Jack and Jessica? Okay. Any comments or questions?
Just one, and this may have been discussed at finance with Jamie there and Travis. How did we come up with this company? Were they on a state bid process? I don't recall, or is it a known vendor?
They're on
Okay, all right. Clarification, thank you.
Okay.
I have one comment.
Go ahead.
If I may, it looks like they're even less than we thought they were gonna be.
Yes.
Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the high school and middle school Chromebook purchase in the amount of $51,924 to be funded by an ESSER III grant. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Jessica Lenee,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Andrea Fick.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes, and thanks again, Travis, for all you do. Next, we have the approval of the 2024-25 purchase of buses, 4 buses.
Just as a reminder, we have to come in November every year to talk about purchasing for the next year so that we can get pricing set. This bill does not hit our current budget. It hits next year's budget. Also, as Chuck was pointing out, we have that timeline where RC showed the chart of when each bus falls off and when they come on. And Chuck is right. If we had this all lined up correctly, it'd be about 2 buses a year. But from 2007 to 2010, we didn't purchase any buses. And then when we did start purchasing buses, we purchased used buses, which has created something other than 2 a year. But once we get through these next couple of years, it should even back out.
Thanks, Rod, and I just want to mention that those were pretty lean years for the district. And we were trying to reserve funds as much as we possibly could, but not at the expense of students. We were still looking at buses at that point, but did not purchase the buses on the schedule at the frequency that we had thought. So with that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion.
Is that Andrea? Holly? Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the purchase of 4 Thomas 77 passenger buses by Hoekstra, with a total cost of $544,628 to be funded by general funds transportation budget as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Andrea Fick.
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Jessica Lenee.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Thanks,
Carrie, just
everyone.
clarification, did you
Sure.
say, did you state an amount on that? I can't remember the motion.
$544,628.
Yep, okay,
Okay.
I'm just looking, because I don't know why I got confused on the 567, 680. Unit price, total price, grand total. Oh, because that's the one we went with, I'm sorry, my mistake.
Okay, no problem. Always good to ask. The next on our agenda is the approval of the lawn care contract renewal.
As we discussed earlier this meeting, we went with a new company to finish out the year. We got those bids a couple of months ago. This is a renewal and a 3-year contract.
Any questions for Rod?
There's a lengthy contract in here. I'm sure somebody's observed or reviewed the whole thing, because I haven't had a chance to do it. This wasn't presented at building and operations. So I think everybody should just take a moment to read, just kind of go through it, because we're going to be voting on something we may not have, or I haven't read. And I just want to make sure everybody's comfortable with it. I think it's pretty clear. The only thing I don't see on there is the $4.50 a gallon price. The when this was originally sent out, either Rod or Jamie's in the audience can answer, was this done as an RFP when it was done 3 months ago, or back in August? I don't recall. Okay, because it exceeds our threshold for total cost. And I don't know if we do this with all our contract employees, but I know EDGE staff does, but do we background these checks, these people, to make sure they're not sex offenders or pedophiles or something, there's nothing in the contract. Yeah, I was just scanned it real quick, I haven't had time to read the whole thing. You know, because they're gonna be on school property, and I know that they're contract employees, but it doesn't say anything about background checks, and I feel uncomfortable approving it without having that on there. Does it say it? I just scanned it real quick.
I think that normally the contracts are only looked around for background if they have involvement with student population.
Yeah, but they're gonna be around our kids, aren't they,
No.
during school year?
No. So, for example, when we first got into the bond, we had to do a background check on almost 200 workers because they were in the buildings, and they were in the buildings during school time. These particular people will not be in the building, and most of the mowing is done after schools because we prefer them not to interrupt the classrooms with their mowers.
Are our edgy staff people background check?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
good. And I don't see anything in here about what happens if they're carrying firearms? I mean, it says they shouldn't be drunk, or they should do this or do that, but if they have CPLs, which falls underneath state law.
Yeah, they would obviously be subject to any
Okay,
state,
all
local,
right,
or.
just so you guys know that. It's not all in the contract. There's a lot of stipulations there, but nothing about guns.
And as Chuck has pointed out, these packets are much thicker. I'd like to thank Jamie for the new way all of these bids and things come through. You can see that everything now has on a title page with the memo, and on the back, you can see all of the included maps and redlined areas
did a
that
great
are gonna
job.
be mowed, so very thorough.
And you said there was an extra increase. I assume that's for the Bristol Road lot?
Correct. So the city came to us and said, hey, we're getting some complaints. You just bought that new property and it's not mowed. And so we had to add the frontage of the Bristol Road. That's that parcel that goes from Bristol all the way to the our Elms Road School building.
I have a question, and does this address your concern, and is it possible to amend the contract to add or bring attention to the policy as far as firearms on the property?
I don't know if
or
it's
on
not
the
necessary or
property?
not.
It's
I'm
Michigan
looking-
law.
But,
unless-
Well, but it
But I'm
says
just saying-
alcohol, it says this, it's got all sorts of stipulations for some things, but not the big things. So
I think,
I'll let it go.
I'm assuming alcohol's in there is because they're driving heavy equipment.
Yeah. Okay.
So I do want to mention what Chuck just brought up about the increase in gas per gallon, and whether that was a discussion or if that was part of the agreement.
I was told that building, it was,
We had that conversation during
yeah,
the
and I
meeting.
don't see that in there neither. I'm just saying, I tried to scan through it real quick, you know, through our other stuff. It's a lengthy contract. I don't like voting yes or no unless I've read something. Well, I don't do that all the time, but you know what I mean?
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
That we can confirm that that's the intent, and then we can approve it tonight?
Sure.
And then
I'm good with that.
either make the amendment to include that if that's the,
There's a paragraph in there that speaks of significant changes, which is
The
supposed to
450.
address the change in gas prices,
Yeah.
as well as any changes in our property. So if for some reason we're doing some construction and we don't want them mowing, or we pave something, or we,
He broke it up per parcel, right?
right, we changed the
Okay.
schedule, but
What happens if gas goes down to $2.50 a gallon? Do we get a discount? I mean, that's actually my fault, because that building in committee, I should have brought that up, because he capped it at $4.50. So I'm assuming gas is gonna be $4.50, and if it goes above that, he wants to renegotiate it. If gas stays at $3.50, then, but he gave us a good deal.
But there are some wiggle rooms the way the contract is written. For example, if it ends up being very dry and instead of mowing every week, they mowed for 3 weeks, we would then recoup 2 cuts out of the contract because they wouldn't be cutting. So there is the addition and subtraction based on multiple factors of the year.
But he could do an extra cut if we have a lot of rain.
Correct.
I mean, that's a double-edged sword, so
Okay.
that's my mistake. Go ahead,
All right.
Carrie, take it out.
Sure.
In all of our properties considered school property, I don't know if the law states if children are on the property with the guns or not, so I don't know that. I don't know, I can't quote the whole MCL, so, but I'm good with everything. Go ahead, Carrie.
Okay.
Stipulation.
All right, so I was recommending that any kind of clarification be made, Jamie, if we needed to answer Chuck's questions, but we could vote to approve the contract pending, any of those questions.
Yeah,
being
and then
answered.
when Rod sign it, or whoever, I mean, Rod will end up signing it, or Jim is our agent, yeah.
And then report back to the building and site. group.
Maybe at the building committee
Okay.
would be fine.
All right.
Thank you.
Is that
Sorry,
good?
Carrie.
No problem. All right, so with that, I would entertain a motion for the approval of the lawn care contract renewal.
So moved.
Support. Chuck and Andrea? Okay. Any comments or questions? Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the Long Kings contract renewal for 3 years at a weekly rate of $2,550 per week with a maximum of 28 services in a year without additional approval from the district. This contract is to be funded out of the general fund. If there are no other comments or questions, Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jessica Lenave,
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. And moving on, we are now to our public comments. If anybody would like to address the board, please come forward, state your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. I almost said 2. Don't see anyone running forward. All right, now, comments from my fellow board members or questions? Anyone?
On the chart, the flow chart, Adrian, you're here right now, so I can ask this. Just as an example, it says your name, of course, and then 13 employees, and it's highlighted in orange, which are edu staff, part-time. Does that look right, Rod? Did I state that right? From what you can see? Okay, and just as an example, does she have two, doesn't she have 2 full-time employees assigned to her also? A secretary and an assistant? Is that, why is that not on there? I just picked that box just to ask. Is it just a typo or just a?
Because Kevin was crunching all the
Okay.
changes pretty hard, and we went back and forth
Yeah.
about like the coaches and some of the people who were doing ticket office.
So that's the edu staff.
Yeah.
But she has 2
She
employees.
has 2 full-time Creek employees, correct?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through it all. I just picked her because when you were talking about, you're busy and your staff, it has you there by yourself, but I thought you had 2 employees. I know we approved one just about 6 months ago, 8 months ago. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
I have a couple.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, great, thanks. Number one, even though they're gone, thank you so much to the Deke students for being here. That was absolutely fantastic. And all the presentations tonight. And I'm gonna give a shout out to the swim team, the Swartz Creek Flushing swim team, because the weekend after the brand new scoreboard got unveiled, they broke another record. They broke the record for the 200 medley relay, and that was Maddie Rowley, Mackenzie Harwood, Gwen McLaughlin, and Josie Lenave. They did, the record is now 1:59:15. And rumor has it that Swartz Creek, I don't know that Swartz Creek has had a Flint Metro champion in swim. I know we had one in dive in 2021, that was Isabella Lenave. And this year, Josie Lenave, full disclosure, my kiddo, is the 53 Flint Metro champion this year for 2024. So
Congratulations.
not to them, the cool thing for Swartz Creek Flushing is that the coach said they didn't think that we've ever had a champion in swim, which is really cool. That team is continuing to grow, and there are even girls by the time that they get to their senior year, that will be probably breaking these records as well, so. And you made the comment about it, that we placed second this year at Flint Metros, and at least in the last 10 years, that is the highest placing of Swartz Creek. So it was a really big deal, and the girls were super stoked to be there. And you're right, they represented Swartz Creek and Flushing very, very well. So I just wanted to tell them congratulations.
Congratulations to all of them.
Yeah.
And their coaches.
I have a question for the audience, Adrian. Did we take a picture of the board before we changed it? Did we get a before? That would have been a good social media post, hey. Just saying.
I wonder if there are parents that have pictures where the board is in it.
I probably would have tagged the people in there that were losing their spot. As someone, if I was one of those people, I would want to maybe reach out and be hey, congratulations, you took my 20 years. There's people on there from when I was in high school and beyond, right? It'd be kind of interesting to see their reaction, to know their, yeah, right? Well, I mean, not in a negative way, that's cool that someone did, but, I just wonder if we had a before picture.
When I was coaching basketball, we had the all-time scoring leader, Jakara Thompson, that came through here, and the woman who she broke her record actually reached out to her, and there was a cool moment in exchange between them. So we'll just break some more, and I'll make sure that happens.
Any other comments? All right, I want to thank the Deke students and their parents who came to bring here. They can't drive, obviously, yet. But, and for the teacher, I did not write her name down. Tara Kimbrough for her wonderful leadership. The students were adorable, so thank you. Also, the Scholar athletes, thank you for having a representation here this evening and for your presentation that just reinforced all the great things that are going on here. And Mr. Love for his patience, but also for his enthusiasm for the students, and just really excited about what's going to happen there. And thanks, Rod and Jim, for doing that podcast again. It's very good. I don't personally care how long you make it. I just am very interested in the information, and I was joking with Rod, but now my husband can understand some of the things that I talk about and get so excited about because they're actually explaining it to the community. So better than I probably can explain it to him, my husband. But anything else? Exciting times, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to put one last plug in. I know my husband and I would love to have dinner with each of you and your guest, and we get to hear the Madrigals up in Frankenmuth if you come up for that.
Which is worth the drive.
Yes, it is. So please RSVP and come and have a great time. Yes.
Yes. And so, Sue, when do you need this? It says the 17th, I believe, needs to go to the group, but when do you need that? When do you want it? You can make it sooner. Okay. So, good. Good. All right. And Reese, thank you again for all you're doing and for putting together the roundtable. We look forward to that again. And thank you very much. You know we will. There's probably no doubt there.
I'm sorry you have to miss that, because I really enjoyed that last year listening to the students, but I can't make it this year.
Okay.
Hopefully not.
All right. So with that, I don't hear any other comments or questions from the board. I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Jack, support?
Support.
All right. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.